Hi folks, welcome to 3.2. In this lesson, you're going to be reading chapters 2 and 3 of While the Locust Slept, but before that, we're going to talk a bit about characterization and how it works in memoir specifically. So let's start with memoir. You might remember from the last video that the book license for While the Locust Slept identified the book as a memoir. So the definition of memoir is a non-fiction book about the author's own life. Peter Razer, the author of this book, is writing about what really happened to him when he was growing up. If you think about the things we've read so far, A Raisin in the Sun is not memoir. It's realistic, but it's still fictional. It's made up. Simple Recipes, on the other hand, is an example of memoir. The author, Madeleine Thien, was writing about her own life. So that's what we'll expect to see in this book as well. The focus for this lesson is characterization. When you're reading a new story, not one you're already familiar with, you start off knowing pretty much nothing about the different people involved, and you have to learn about them through characterization. Characterization is the way characters are described or represented. So, thinking back to another of our stories, let's think about Charles. We get a sense of who Laurie is based on how he's described. His mom tells us he's a swaggering character, and based on what he does and says. We're told he whispered joyfully when he's saying bad words. So, all of these moments, both how he's directly described and what we see him say and do, help us understand who this guy is. That's characterization. Another way to think about characters in a story is to look at protagonists and antagonists. The protagonist is typically the main character of the story, the one we're following, the one we're usually rooting for. And the antagonist is a person or thing that is keeping the protagonist from their goals. So, in Raising the Sun, for example, an easy antagonist would be Willie Harris. He steals the Youngers' money, taking away their dreams. But an antagonist doesn't have to be a villain, just someone in the hero's way. Walter himself could be an antagonist. Even though he means right by his family, he makes things a lot harder for them. And an antagonist doesn't even need to be a person or even something alive. Poverty and racism could also be antagonists in A Raisin in the Sun. They are forces that are keeping the youngers away from their dreams. So, what about in our current book, While the Locust Slept? Again, the protagonist is our main character, the antagonist is whoever or whatever is keeping them from their goals. Well, our protagonist here is pretty straightforward. It's Peter Razer. He's the one telling the story, he's our main focus. So, what about antagonists? Who or what is in Peter's way? There are several possibilities we've seen just in chapter 1 already. Some antagonists could include the state public school at Owatonna that mistreats him and keeps him from his family. John Scholes, who adopts him for farm placement. We will learn much more about him in the next couple chapters. And racism. The idea that Razer is treated differently because he is Native American, and that is viewed as something bad. So, as we keep reading the story, watch out for how Peter, his antagonists, and also just other characters are characterized. What motivates them? What are they like? Would you want to be friends with them or not? Understanding these different ways that they're characterized will help us understand their role in the story and help us understand their impact on Peter's real life. I hope you enjoy chapters 2 and 3.